So that's the preface of this book and the key points in the preface mentioned. Now we begin actually talking about the Vedic astrology itself, which is found in the first chapter, which is called the Overview. On page number 3, second paragraph, it begins, there are 3 important factors. Those 3 factors are the stars, the sky, and the planets. So we have the sky that's above us, and we have the stars moving through that sky. And then we have the planets moving through the stars. Now, an important thing to understand when we begin studying astrology, in Western terms, we have a concept of astronomy and astrology, where astronomy is the actual study and mathematical calculation of the stars themselves, black holes, and the creation of the universe, and things along that line. Astrology is the interpretation of the stars and the planets and their movements. The Sanskrit terms for these, for astrology, it's called Hora. H-A-H-O-R long A. Hora. For the astronomy, it's called Ganita. G-A-N-I-T-A. Ganita. Now, from the perspective of Ganita, which is astronomy, it was classically understood, even though some people think that it wasn't till later in Europe that they understood that the sun was the center of the solar system. Hundreds and hundreds of years previous to that, Indian seers understood that the sun was the center of the solar system and that we were moving around the sun. They clearly understood this, and if they didn't understand this, they would not have been able to do the astronomical calculations that they did. It's very simple along that line. They would not have been able to calculate eclipses if they did not understand this. So, from the Ganita perspective, the sun is the center, and we are moving around the sun. But, from the perspective of Hora, from astrology, we are on this planet, and we're looking up at the sky. So from the perspective of Hora, we are geocentric, and we speak in geocentric terms. Ganita is connected to the sun. Hora is connected to the moon. It's the right and left eye. The right eye is the sun, the left eye is the moon. It's the right and left brain. One is emotional, one is very logical. So, from that logical perspective, we're speaking about astronomy, and we're realizing how the universe actually is. The sun represents the soul, the Atma, within us. Now, the Atma is, you perceive it as in your body. But the Atma is not limited by the body. The Atma was here before the body, and it will be here after the body. Space and time do not affect the soul the same way it affects the mind. So in this way, from the Ganita perspective, which is connected to the sun and logic, it's the heliocentric view and understanding how the universe actually works. From the Hora perspective, Hora is connected to the moon, and the moon is your mind. Your mind is limited by your body and its surroundings. The surroundings are influencing the mind. The body in its health is influencing the mind. So from the astrological perspective, where you are is affecting you. Even if it's not actually what truly is in the pure state of being. So from the astrological perspective, what's in the sky is being perceived from the geocentric perspective. From the astronomical perspective, we are moving, we're spinning. And that spinning is what's making the stars look like they're moving. That's Ganita. from Hora for interpretation of a birth chart. We're on Earth, and the stars are moving through the sky above us. Very important to differentiate when we use each of them. Both are used. Some people incorrectly say that astrology is geocentric. It can't be, because of the mathematical calculations needed to get your data. It's both, but for interpretation, we're geocentric. So, the three important factors. We have the sky, this space that's above us, and we have the stars. And so from the geocentric perspective, the stars are moving through the sky. Every day, there's a complete rotation of the stars above us. That's actually happening from an astronomical point because we're spinning in a complete circle, and we get back to the same place we started from. But from our perspective, it's moving up above us. Okay? Now the planets are moving through those stars. And because those stars are moving, the planets are moving with them. But they're moving within the stars, where the stars are moving within the sky. Now when we look at the sky is what we can see above us, and it's also the sky that we can't see below us. So it's the entire space around the Earth and the perception from there. Okay? That sky is what we call houses. Those stars are what we call signs. And then the planets are moving through the signs. In Sanskrit, the planets are called grahas. The signs are called rashis. And the houses are called bhavas. There's multiple different ways that people believe that these planets are affecting our life. Some people try and be kind of scientific, talking about gravitational pulls. Because when we look at the moon is ruling the high tide and the low tide, totally changing the entire ocean. If it's changing the entire ocean, it's also changing the water content in our body. In the same way, the other planets are connected to different elements. Mars is controlling the fire element. Jupiter is controlling the space element. Mercury is controlling the earth element. In this way, some people go to the point where the planet is controlling is almost like a string with gravitational pulls affecting us. This is at some level a very gross understanding of how the planets are affecting us. When we get to a level of energy, there's an energetic relationship. What is outside is what's inside. What's inside is what's outside. The microcosm is a reflection of the macrocosm. At some level, when you get very physical and scientific, you'll start looking, and even you can go that way. And where Venus is, when Venus is next to the Earth, it's going to have a certain gravitational effect on the way the Earth is moving, versus when it's opposite the Earth. It's going to have a certain gravitational effect on how we're moving and spinning and everything that's happening. You can go that line of thought. But if you get to the level of energy, instead of going from cutting the hand off and putting on a mechanical hand philosophy, to the fact that there's energy meridians moving through the hand, and that there's points on that energy meridian that are activating certain things in your body, we can understand that there's energy channels in the solar system, in the planets, in the way that they're moving, in the way that they're relating, invoking and creating different actions, different states of consciousness. And these states of consciousness, when they densify into physical form, look and act in certain ways. It's hard to put it exactly into words, but meditating along that lines, you'll begin to understand how the planets are interacting with your life. But it's important not to become too biomechanical on how they're actually affecting us. As Jyotish is the science of light, those planets are representing the light of existence, the energy of life and vitality. And in some regards, they're just a reflection of what is right here present in your reality. As this book is going to be eventually 3 volumes, the goal is by the end of volume 3 to be raising the level of awareness into how the planets are representing deities and how the deities are representative of certain energies within us. And so the position and state of those planets are showing the consciousness of that deity and our interaction with it. And understanding what that deity represents on an internal level will understand how that's manifesting in our life. And that's the true level of Jyotish that is represented by the light, the science of light.